Today's message is for somebody who feels like they cannot have fun because they're being observed. Maybe this is an experience you became accustomed to as a child, the sense that when you were playing or when you were in joy, you weren't able to relax and completely engage with the activity because family or guardians were over your shoulder in some way. Maybe your parents were strict, maybe they didn't allow you to have fun, or maybe they judged you in your sacred places of creativity. For instance, playing a musical instrument was embarrassing in front of your family. The message I'm receiving today is about how that internal experience still impacts you today and what you can do to support yourself in clearing that voyeuristic energy. So you might still feel this in your day-to-day life as creative blocks or a lack of flow. Maybe when you start a project and you find something that you really enjoy, you magnetize or invite some person in your life who criticizes it, or you find it difficult to find your own internal engine to keep going. Well, today's message, it begins with an interrogation on why these external voyeurs behaved in such a way. And it might seem obvious, but the reason for you to consider why is because this subconscious aspect of yourself was conditioned in childhood. And so it's still a child, and it needs to understand in infantile terms, because at the time you wouldn't have understood why you're being judged for something that happens so innately and wants to be expressed by your spirit. So, firstly, a compassionate glance at these people. Let's say it was your guardians. What I'm being shown is that these people were raised in environments that were very strict. Maybe they were physically whipped for discipline, and the vision I keep getting is them being whipped into shape so that they don't fall apart. The idea of discipline or structure meant safety. And safety meant money, safety meant acceptance, and safety even meant survival back in those days where expressing uniqueness was not as necessary or admirable. So there's a sense that these people would have lost their minds if they were to follow creative essence. And so that discipline was trained into their systems, and they innately believed that to train it into your system was to keep you safe. So it's very important that you take a moment to release the resentment that you feel towards the people that made it harder for you to create or to play. And you imagine them as children, just like you were, and offer that back to them, that sense of compassion and understanding for the reason why they acted that way. And this is important because you don't want the resentment to pour into the activity. So the vision that I was getting at the start was of a child playing with a ball and tensing up because there's somebody over their shoulders and they can't entirely focus on the ball. And then I saw them bowling the ball and hitting all of the pins and getting a strike. And before the bowling ball had even hit the pins, they ran away because they didn't want to see the result. The next part of the reading is about focusing on that ball and making sure that you're not channeling these subconscious tensions into the act itself or into the ball that you're playing with. And I'm being given an exercise, and I'm being shown an exercise to pass on to you. Very simple. It's to sit down with the concept or the thought of this creative art form or play, or even just the concept of freedom and joy and playfulness for yourself, and write down with pen a list of all the reasons why you deserve it, why it nourishes your spirit to engage in this activity, why it specifically connects to you and your unique expression, and to begin to associate that list with the act. The ball you were playing with in the image I was seeing then grows to have like an aura around it where it encapsulates your focus. So no matter who's watching, you can thoroughly engage and enjoy this activity. And by writing down and understanding all of the reasons why this activity is for you and you deserve to do it, you'll be able to find a deeper sense of focus and connection where you don't feel like the outward environment inhibits your capacity to play. Because this is the problem, or the loop we get caught in, is believing that we can't actually focus if somebody's watching. But the opposite needs to be true. It needs to be that you maintain your focus no matter who is watching and no matter what the environment is. A negative environment shouldn't impact your capacity to retain the focus. And it actually works the opposite way. The more focused you become and the more permission you give yourself to freely enjoy this activity, as incredibly difficult as it is when you have that programming, you start to manifest an environment that does accept the way you are when you do this thing. And when you start very small, you can scale it onto bigger stages. You know, if this is a performance art, to be able to perform on the stage with that same intimacy is very important. I can sense the anger coming up and the necessity of channeling this anger into something, some activity or some very blatant act that acknowledges how much you feel you suffered under the voyeuristic eyes of other people. If your environment wasn't an accepting one, you need to do some kind of ceremonial or physical act, like even boxing class, to channel this specific anger about this specific topic into one place. And then start small. Don't expect a lot from yourself, but find creative, intentional ways that you can engage with this joy and this play with very subtle exposure, whether that is filming yourself doing something creative and then putting it online, doing something creative outdoors that you would usually do inside, moving through the discomfort of that and seeing what you can create through improvisation, and just pushing through the feeling of I can't do this to get to the other side. That usually only has to happen once or twice to really re-engage the right feeling. Improvisation is coming up as the core of this activity or task. So trying an activity without an outcome And if you're afraid of improvisation, just giving it a try for 2 minutes, if you dance in your room with your own music, just taking 2 minutes to do movements that you've never seen before, or to put your pen in your hand and to say, I am going to channel my own spirit through this pen for just 2 minutes and see what comes up. Containment is very important here. Feels like limiting yourself and actually forcing yourself to do less than you might be capable of is very healthy here, because it allows you to do it every day, and repeating it every day increases your muscle or your nervous system's capacity. So set the task, do something playful, keep it short, lighthearted, and know that the intention is to bust through this discomfort of being watched by the external voyeur. And that is your message for today. Thank you for listening. If you like this, leave a comment, subscribe, and be brave. I'll see you in the next reading.